everybody. Welcome on this grim Tuesday in the state of Florida. Metz, you want to tell everybody what you were just doing?
Yes, I was losing track of time because I was just looking at the latest track of our hurricane, our little storm that's coming through.
Yeah, just a little one.
The big concern here is the direction of the winds. And I was just showing Connor, I have quite a bit of glass on the back of my house. And the winds are going to be coming straight down with nothing blocking the winds. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll go live. Metz Tassel show, guys, 1 o'clock Thursday, live during the hurricane. Be there.
Yeah, so the latest track just kind of pushed it a little bit more south and a little bit more to the east, which is good for me. We're in a mandatory evacuation zone. They sent out the notice at 11 a.m. yesterday that we needed to be out by 2 p.m. Like, who can move that fast? So we will be evacuating. We live right practically on the water. So definitely flooding, storm surges, worried about that. But a lot can change in the next 24 to 48 hours. So fingers crossed that it pushes more towards Orlando. Right, Metz?
Thank you, Cris.
You're welcome. Awesome. All right, guys. We're going to get started here in a minute. Thank you so much. We had a ton of people register for this webinar. I'm really excited about this topic. Anytime I get to be on a webinar with the man, Mike Metzger, and we are going to be talking a lot about numbers today. And one of the things I would definitely recommend is to get a pen and a paper. Unless you're driving, don't do that. And we will be sending out the slides when we send out the replay. All right. So you will be able to get access to the slides because there's just, a lot going on in there. So Metz, whenever, if you're ready to rock, I'm ready to roll.
That's what makes us a great team, Cris.
I know.
Rock and roll goes together. I am ready when you are. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Awesome. Mr. Johnson, there will be a replay sent. So we'll have that out before the end of business today to everybody that registered for it. So we'll send out the replay. All of our webinar replays live on the GrowPro agency website. We've got like almost 30 webinars on there. So if you're looking for continued education, you can always find it there. And then we'll also put the slides in a Google Drive file for you guys so you can access. Okay. All right. I like participation in the chat. It makes it much more fun than just listening to me and especially listening to Metz. So if you guys are ready, give me a 1 in the chat box. We'll see some 1s go through and then we will kick it off. All right. I love it. Beautiful. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So we are talking about KPIs. We are talking about KPIs today. And we got a ton of people still making their way in. So I need to make sure I can let them in. And really kind of this concept of having a dashboard that isn't connected necessarily to your CRM. As much as I love the CRMs that are out there and all of the tools and resources that we have access to, they're not always 100% accurate. And so we got a really cool way of showcasing your KPIs through some scorecards. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see some brand new faces. So just to really quick kind of tell you who we are. I'm Cris Rodriguez. I'm a school owner just like you. My school has been shut down for the rest of the week because of the hurricane, but we're a BJJ and MMA academy. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. I'm also the founder of GrowPro. We're a digital marketing agency that specifically works with martial arts schools. We're working with about 300 martial arts schools right now, all over the world, actually, predominantly in the United States. I wrote a book called The Best Known Dojo. So when we go through the recruiting scorecard, if this, part of your business in terms of recruiting is something that you need help with, that's what the book is all about. I'm also Maya's digital consultant. Thankful to Mr. Metzger for asking me to take that on about 3 years ago. host a podcast called Seven Figure CEO, where I have a lot of martial arts owners on there. And we manage over 3 million in paid ads for martial arts schools. So I'm going to be covering the recruiting scorecard because that's really like our specialty and what we do at GrowPro. And I currently have a team of 30 people. So lots of people that work for me at the Academy and at GrowPro, which really just forces you to level up your leadership. Metz, you want to tell them about you and how much older you are than me?
Yeah, I am much older than you, about 5 years older than Cris.
Hey,
and Cris put these slides together. I'm not one to really talk, but Cris says success follows success, and thinks it's important to share some of our accolades. So Cris put this together. How long have I been an owner? 30 plus years as a martial arts school owner, everybody. We have 7 schools in Orlando, and we are projected to do right about 5 million this year with the 7 schools. You could divide that by 7 and check out the average per school. We have 2 more leases already signed, so we'll have 8 and 9 openings shortly. We have 114 licensees actually across the nation, CMA schools. I am the lead consultant for the martial arts industry. I think this is important for people to understand. I think the only reason this is important is, unlike any other consulting group, I try to convey that we're really here to help you guys. We do have 120. I just got the latest update, Mr. Frank Silverman and myself. It's just the 2 of us. We don't have bankers, investors, just the 2 of us. And our latest real estate portfolio is just over 123 million in real estate. And which is important to understand, because I don't need to be on a webinar helping the school owners. But what I want everyone to understand is I'm first and foremost a martial artist. And it was the martial arts that led us to greater success and branching out, which is something we try to teach everybody in Maya. And then we have a Maya Wealth program. That's something we can talk about another day, another time. But I think that's why it's important. And yes, we have, it says 80 plus employees. I just got the number. I think we're at 77 employees right now. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Metzger. I'll update the keynote so that it says 123 million instead of the 120.
And 77 employees and 114 licensees.
Yeah, I'll update that before we send it out. No problem. So let's talk about what in the world is a KPI, right? We actually get this question quite often, and a KPI is just an acronym for a key performance indicator. So it's a number that you get out of your company that should tell you where things are going well and where things aren't going well. It's kind of like the dashboard of your car, right? That check engine light goes on and we're like, oh, something is wrong with the car. And this is so important because I remember the first time I met Mr. Metzger, I had gone to a Maya event here in Tampa that Mr. Silverman was actually leading at the time. And he had recommended that I drive down to Orlando to go meet Mr. Metzger. He wasn't really taking on any more clients, but he said, I think he'll take you on. So literally that very next Monday, the seminar was on a Friday and Saturday. The very next Monday, we drove down. And I remember sitting in that conference room where Mr. Metzger is right there. And I bet if you walk into that conference room right now, you're going to see exactly what I saw. And it was spreadsheets. It was Excel spreadsheets of all of the numbers of the schools, all of those key performance indicators. And Metz is old school. There it is. See, I'm not even there. I'm an hour and a half away. And I knew that would be on the table because he taught me the importance of making data-driven decisions. Metz, would you say I'm kind of emotional sometimes? Would that be kind of a...
I would say you're on the spectrum of emotions, yes.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Metzger and I are very, very close. And I get emotional sometimes, especially when you're dealing with as many clients and employees. And we got to be careful that we're not making emotional driven decisions in our business. We want to be making data driven decisions. And that's what this training is all about, is going to be, these are the numbers you need to be looking at in 3 different areas of your business. We're going to show you a very easy way that you can track it as well, because like I said earlier, your CRM isn't always 100% accurate. And there's so many different CRMs. And it's interesting. My 2 mentors, Mr. Metzger for the martial arts and just kind of my life coach. And I've got another mentor named Josh Nelson, who helps me with the agency. And they are both old school spreadsheet type people. And I just really want to get this mindset shift of math is the path, that we need to be tracking these numbers, and it might be boring and it might not be super exciting, but it is so important. And I truly believe this separates the good from the great. So there are definite frustrations in running a martial arts business, really any business. And oftentimes those frustrations are because you don't know your numbers, right? If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. We've all heard that quote before. And if you're not tracking the numbers that we go over, you don't know what to fix, right? You're just guessing at what you should fix. And I think what often happens is that we wear so many hats as school owners that the numbers just go to the back burner. Or if we are looking at the numbers, we're looking at them at the end of the month when it's too late to do anything about them. So Metz, some of the wants. Would you agree we want to be able to track data easily? Is that, I mean, tell me why you do the spreadsheet. I don't like, why the spreadsheet? Why not, why not some CRM? Why not, why a printed spreadsheet every day on your conference table?
So here's why, guys. Sometimes logic does not make sense in business, right? You think you make a logical decision, but you're not. The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't care about hurting your feelings. You could think you're the best instructor out there. You run a great program, but you look at your numbers and you wonder why your retention's a problem. You also, the majority of the end all be all is I want more students. And so you try to market more, but until you dive into your numbers, we don't know where the problem is. I don't want to get ahead of myself, Cris. I mean, should I talk about the problems and the tracking but here's the other problem. Tracking data easily is another problem, right? There's 2 kinds of stats you want to keep: financial stats and traffic stats. But it's got to be easy or you won't do it. The other problem with data is if you don't input data in one area, everything is wrong. I mean, you're not going to get a clear picture of where your issues are. And the last thing I'll say before we go to the next slide is, as an industry, as human beings, right? We want things now. We want the quick fix. We want the easy way. And I'm the first person to tell you, if you want to achieve a level of success or maximize that level of success, there is no easy way in the beginning. It's once you get into a routine and you develop a system that it becomes easy, but it's a grind to get there. And everyone wants the shiny object. Cris said it 2 minutes ago. This is boring. Some of you won't even stay on for this. And by the way, she has a free giveaway that I even need that's going to help you track this easily. But the thing is, this is not exciting. But if I got rid of everything that we do and all I can get is my numbers, I will be more successful than 99.9% of the people with my data and my numbers. So that's why it's so important to have, and to track data easily, you need a system for that.
So we're going to basically talk about 3 different scorecards that you should be keeping in your business. And these scorecards are going to be categorized under recruiting, retention, and revenue. And if you've been on any webinars, if you've been to any events, if you've watched the Metz Tassel show with Metz, you hear these 3 R's all the time: recruiting, retention, and revenue. And it's simple. And simplicity scales, fancy fails. We're always looking, like Metz said, for that new shiny object. If you can break down these 3 areas in your business, recruiting, retention, and revenue, and you can track data appropriately, you're going to be able to make better decisions. So I'm going to kick off with recruiting, and I'm going to show you the recruiting scorecard, which is a Google data sheet that we use to track these numbers. So Metzger said you need to be tracking revenue and you need to be tracking traffic, right? So this is you really tracking the traffic that is coming into your school. And this should be tracked on a daily basis. And one of the big mistakes I see, like I said earlier, is that we wait until the end of the month to realize that we're behind and it was too late to basically shift the sale to go in a different direction, okay? So you've got to, on a daily basis, track number of leads that you get, number of appointments that were booked, number of shows, number of closes, your trials, and your active count. Okay, now, are there other statistics you can be tracking 100%? I'm going to kind of show this on the scorecard, but at the kind of base level to keep this as simple as possible, because if it's not simple, you're not going to continue to do it. This is what you need to be tracking, okay? Whether you're tracking that in a notebook with little tallies, whether you're tracking it, on a Word document throughout the day, I don't care how you're doing that. I just want you to understand by the end of the day, you need to have all of the data points on these traffic stats, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the percentages you should be aiming for. And Metz and I actually I wouldn't call it an argument, but I was just kind of explaining where I stand in terms of lead to appointment ratio. And for lead to appointment ratio, I put 50 to 60% here. So if you're getting 100 leads, you want to be booking at least 50 to 60. Now you might think like, man, that's not really that high. Well, I come from a digital marketing background where we do a lot of interruption-based marketing. Interruption-based marketing is things like marketing on Facebook and marketing on TikTok, where people are on these platforms not because they are actively searching and looking for martial arts, right? Why do you go on Facebook? You want to be entertained, you're bored, you want to catch up with people. So if we were discussing, let's say, referral leads, or we were discussing, let's say, you went to a meet the teacher or an open house and you had face-to-face communication with these prospects, then yes, absolutely, that percentage would be higher, right? I think we'd all agree that the absolute best type of lead to get is a referral lead, right? I would take a referral lead every day of the week and twice on Sunday over a Facebook lead or a TikTok lead, okay? So the reason why we have 50 to 60% is because I'm calculating that you're not only doing a referral program or not only marketing by word of mouth. Hopefully you have more lines out in the ocean and you're implementing more marketing strategies than just word of mouth, okay? Then we have to look at your percentage for appointment to show. So out of the appointments that you book, how many are showing? And I want you to aim as a base no lower than 70%. So if you book 10 appointments, we want at least 7 of them to show up. Now, this number can change based on if you do a free offer or if you do a paid offer, right? And I'm not here to debate which one's better. I know schools that are very successful that do free. I know schools that are very successful that do paid. However, if you do have a free offer, your appointment to show ratio can potentially be lower than your appointment to show ratio if it was a paid only, meaning they have to pay through your website or over the phone before they even come into your facility. And then finally, your show to close ratio should be at a minimum 80%. And man, if I had $1 for every time I heard a martial arts school owner say, Cris, if you just get them in my door, I'll sign them up. I mean, every martial arts school owner says that. All you got to do is get them in my door and I'm going to sign them up. And then one of my follow-up questions is always, well, what is your show to close ratio? What is the percentage of people that you are closing on full 12-month agreements that actually show up? And we really want to be aiming for at least 80%. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what if you're not hitting those numbers, right? So you're tracking these numbers and you're not hitting them. So let's take a peek at how we track them. And these are the 3 scorecards that we put together to help you track these. And at the very front, we have a key. And the key is just an explanation of what you're going to see in these three different scorecards. We have a recruiting scorecard, a retention scorecard, and a revenue scorecard. And what is so cool is all of the formulas are built into these spreadsheets. So our recording scorecard, and you'll see you've got all of these columns. And again, there's an explanation of each one of these columns and what it means. But this is where you will plug in the number of leads, the number of appointments you had on your calendar, the number of shows, the number of closes. That's like the minimum that I told you I wanted you to track in terms of traffic stats. You're going to notice there's other columns such as source, right? Where did that person come from? Did they find you on Google? Did they see your Facebook ad? Is it a referral? Number of new appointments booked that day. We got a rule in my academy, there better be at a minimum at least one every single day on every single row in this spreadsheet. If there isn't a one, that means somebody's not doing follow-up calls. We also have trials, renewals, upgrades, cancellations, walk-ins, your active count, and revenue. But again, at the minimum, I want you to track these numbers here. And what's cool is as you plug in your numbers, the formulas are built in to add them up and give you the percentage. So I went ahead and put some data in here. And as you'll see, we had 17 leads come in, 11 appointments were booked, 9 shows, and 8 closes. And underneath in each one of that column, it's going to give you the percentage. So this is telling me from lead to appointment, we're getting 64% of those appointments booked. That's thumb up. That's good. It's within that 50 to 60 range. 82% are showing up. That's thumbs up. Good. Told you the minimum should be 70%. And 88% are getting closed, right? Now, if we simply take some of these numbers and change them, you will notice that the percentage on the bottom will change as well. So it's doing the math for you. So you no longer have the excuse of saying, I'm not good at math, because the spreadsheet will do the math for you. And as the month goes on, you'll be able to see, where are the holes? Are we not getting enough leads? Are we not booking enough appointments? Are they not showing up? Are we not closing them? And if for whatever reason, one of these percentages are off, this is a great opportunity for you as the owner to put trainings together for your team. I get asked often, Cris, do you have like a 12-month training curriculum for, your program directors? And, it sounds all good and dandy, but it doesn't allow us to focus on the needs that the team has based off of what the numbers are showing us. Okay, so this KPI tracking sheet, the scorecard for tracking your recruiting, is an absolute must-have in your business. So let's talk about, okay, Cris, that's awesome. I'm tracking the data. I'm putting it in that spreadsheet. What do I do if the numbers are off? And I wanted to give you a roadmap on exactly what to do if you're not hitting the numbers. So let's just say you're not getting enough leads, right? Maybe your appointment to show ratio is great. People are enrolling, but you just need more leads. First thing you need to do is look at the different marketing strategies. One of the biggest mistakes we see school owners make is they go all in on one marketing strategy. All I'm going to do this month is a mass intro, or all I'm going to do this month is Facebook ads, or all I'm going to do this month is be a PE teacher at the local elementary school. And the problem with that is you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. And the book that I wrote, The Best Known Dojo, talks about the different lines that you need out in the ocean. And that's just kind of an analogy that if we go fishing and I've got 10 fishing poles and you only have one fishing pole, I'm going to catch more fish. It's as easy as that. The other thing that you need to potentially look at is your budget. We work with around 300 martial arts schools. We will not run ads for a school unless they have a minimum of $500 a month in ad spend. Now, I'm not here to discredit $500, but what I am here to tell you is that if you take 500 and divide it by 30, that's only $16 a day. That's not a lot. Now, Metz, How many participants do we have? Can you see how many people we have on this webinar?
81.
81. Guys, Metz, when we do webinars, typically, how many people do we usually have? Well, how would you say? On a webinar, not on our like trainings with our clients, but just on these webinars.
Oh, well, if it's me by myself, about 1,200. If I bring in Tassel or somebody, it drops down to 30.
Yeah. Usually, guys, usually it's
Where's
about
the
30
sense of
people.
humor with the group?
Usually it's about 30 people. Today we got 80 of you. You guys want to know why? Guess what we did to the budget? Metz said, hey, I'll split the budget with you. I said, sweet. Now we got 2x the budget and we've got 2 times the people. So sometimes you need to look at what is your budget. That could very well be a reason why you're not getting enough leads. You also need to check your offer and the messaging that you write in your ads, in your emails, in your social media posts, okay? You have to have what we call an irresistible offer. I remember working with a client at GrowPro and they didn't want to have an offer. They said, no, just tell people to come in. They can't even try a class. We're just going to tell them about our program and tell them our prices. How do you think that campaign did? It did awful because there wasn't even an offer in there, okay? And then finally, one thing that, because we run ads and we spend so much money on the platforms, is I will tell you your assets, meaning the pictures and the videos that you use in your emails and on your website and any type of just digital presence that you have can determine the number of leads that you're getting. We don't see stock images perform very well. And we hear from school owners all the time, I don't have time to take pictures. I'm a one-man show. I bet you there's a parent or a student that has photography as a hobby that would be happy to help you out so you can get some authentic pictures in your digital presence, okay? So if you don't have enough leads, this is what I would look at. If you have enough lines out in the ocean, or are you only doing one marketing strategy, is there room to increase your budget? And ideally, there's 3 times during the year you need to do that. Going into summer, coming out of summer, and going into the new year. Maybe it's time to change your offer, right? I mean, I know a lot of us have our bread and butter offer. Metzger's bread and butter offer is 4 weeks for $49, right? But if you even look at a company like McDonald's, they sell burgers and fries, but every month they have a new offer, whether it's the McFlurry or the McSalad or the McRib, okay? And then finally, taking a look at the assets that are basically, providing your prospects brand awareness of what your brand looks for and stands for. Now, what if we're not getting enough appointments? Maybe we're getting leads, but what happens if we're not getting enough appointments? Well, the first thing that I would look at is the timing on your follow-up. Okay, there are plenty of studies out there that show you got to follow up within 5 minutes. If you don't follow up within 5 minutes on web-based leads, those leads go cold. The next thing you need to look at is the consistency of the follow-up. We've all heard the quote, fortune is in the follow-up. How many times are you following up with that lead? Most schools, it's 1 to 2 times, and then that lead goes on the back burner, okay? The other thing you can look at is adjusting your phone script. Now, I'm not a huge fan of scripts because scripts make people sound robotic and make people sound scripted. But when was the last time, if you, the owner, are not the person that is booking the appointments, when was the last time you listened to your program director make those calls? For some, it might be a very, very long time. Your program director or front desk person might not be explaining the benefits well enough. They might not be building enough rapport on the phone to get that appointment booked. And then finally, you also need to look at the offer. The offer might just not be good enough to get somebody to come in. Now, what if you are booking those appointments, but they're not showing up? Again, I would listen to the recordings of the calls, okay? We use a CRM called High Level that actually records all of the calls, which means that we have to say that we are on a recorded line. That is, the legal way to do it. but it allows us to listen back on the calls so that we can provide feedback. This is especially important if you're not an on-site owner, if you have multiple locations and you're not able to be there. I know some people will pride themselves in being able to book appointments quickly, like, oh, I was able to book that appointment in a few minutes. Well, did you build enough rapport that that person is actually going to want to show up? Because I bet they didn't just call your school, they probably called the school down the road as well, because they're trying to check out all the different places. The other thing I would look at would be your automations. What automations do we have in place? And automations, Metz, myself, and Tass, we did a webinar on this last month called The Past, Present, and Future of the Martial Arts Industry. And Mr. Metzger talked a lot about how automations do not replace human communication. And they shouldn't completely replace it, but they can help you work while you sleep. I mean, how many of us get leads in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning? And how great is it that we can set up automations where they get emails and text messages automatically to get them to book those appointments? But there are 4 things that I would check in your automations that can help your appointments showing up. And the first one is, is it personalized, right? Are you able to put their name in that text? Are you able to use really cool technology like nifty.com where you can actually impose their name on a picture, like on a chalkboard or on a TV? Are you sending some form of video? Okay, well, Cris, I can't put videos in your automations. You're right, the files are too big, but you absolutely could host the video. My favorite way of doing that is hosting it on a landing page in our website. This way, when we send the link, it's branded because it has our domain, but you could also put the video in Vimeo or on YouTube. Do you have testimonials in those automations, right? If somebody's booking an appointment for a kids program, are you sending them social proof that shows that, hey, we're really good at fixing and solving the problem that you have? And then I'm always a fan of a selfie text picture the day of the appointment with the instructor who is teaching it, because what this does is it lets that person know, hey, there's another human being on the other side of this appointment that is waiting for you to show up, okay? The other thing that I would look at doing is looking to see when they actually booked the appointment, when you got a hold of them on the phone. Let's say you were able to get a hold of them, noon on Tuesday. When you're doing that confirmation call, let's say they had an appointment on Friday, try calling them at that same time. And the thought process is, well, if they were available at 12 p.m. on this day, then they should be available on 12 p.m. on the other day. Okay. And then finally, and this would be like the last straw, if you really just were not getting your appointments to show up, if you did all of these other things, then consider going from a free offer to a paid offer. Last up, and I'm gonna go through this very quickly. Maya has a ton of trainings on this, but what if you are getting them to show up, but you're unable to close? Well, I would look at, do you have a replicatable system and process? Typically, owners have no problem closing, right? But can your program director do it? Can the front desk person do it? And in order for that to get done, you have to have a repeatable system and process. We teach the 4-step enrollment system, which could be an entire webinar on its own. This is where we talk about the student. We be specific about how our program teaches the benefits that they're looking for. We pre-frame the upgrade, and then we present the program and the different pricing options, okay? The other thing to look at is, when's the last time you've quality controlled, meaning you watched or audited the intro lesson or the class? All right, we've got 84 people on here that I bet you every single one of you think you teach the best classes out of all of us. When's the last time it was audited and QC'd? One of those light bulb moments for me that Mr. Metzger taught me on this intro lesson, we do one-on-one intros, is we all know you have to build rapport between the child and you got to build rapport between the parent. But you also need to build rapport between the child and the parent under your roof. And there's some really cool ways that you can do that, and you can build that system into your intro or your class. And then finally, I think sometimes people do not downsell. If you're doing a free offer and they come in and you show them your 12-month agreements, sometimes people do not downsell to the paid trial faster. So if we bring somebody in for a free one-on-one, we go through our 12-month options on our basic beginner trial program, and there's some form of objection, right, that we weren't able to overcome. I'm going to curse here, but this is straight out of Metzger's mouth. He taught me if the ass is in the seat, it's who is going to sell who. And oftentimes we don't present the paid trial, whether that's a 2-week or a 4-week trial fast enough, and those people leave without making some form of a financial commitment. So these are the things that you can do once you start tracking these KPIs on this scorecard. And once you start seeing what your percentages are, maybe you're looking like, man, we're getting enough appointments, we're getting enough leads, they're showing up, but they're not closing. Well, guess what you need to do? You need to quality control the intro lesson in the class, and you need to have a specific system and process. We recommend the 4-step enrollment process. But you can't fix the problem unless you know what the problem actually is. And like Metzger said, the numbers don't have feelings. Those numbers are going to tell you what the actual issue is. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Metzger, and he is going to finish up with the other 2 scorecards, which have to do with retention and revenue. So Metz, you want to kick us off on retention?
Yes, before I do, can you guys do me a favor here? Can you tell me, or just post in a sentence, what are you on this for? What do you want for your business? What is it that you want? What's the goal here? Just put it, the goal. Some of you might say, I need more students. I need to generate more revenue. I need to improve my retention. I need to do better with staff development. I need to open up another location. What is it that you're looking for here, guys? Let me just see here. Okay. Refiner should run my school professionally as a business owner, not just a head instructor. Better tracking of data, retention, improve sales process. And that's all by refining decisions to be data driven. Systems that work. Open a new school. Okay. Anybody else? After 30 years, I think it's time to track numbers. Yeah, I would say let's get started on that. You're not alone though. I need to learn how to track numbers better. So systems to improve on retention, follow up more cash, understand why we are or aren't retaining. Okay. Better show ratio. Okay. Yeah, good. You should improve closing the deal. All right. Listen, I like simple, right? I cannot be more proud of my team right now. So let's go back to our page, Cris, or shared, whatever you call these things.
Slides.
Slides, is that what it is? All right, listen. Hey, here's the first question I want you to ask yourself. You are in the business of marketing and selling martial arts lessons. All of you on here are in the business of marketing and selling martial arts lessons. But why is it that others do so much better in the eyes of the general public as successful? They do so much better and they are more successful than you are, or than where you want to be, right? We both do the same thing. The first thing you got to do, we all love quoting Bruce Lee. We think it's cool. Empty your cup. You know, you got to empty your cup, but we don't empty our cup. We get in our own way. It's fun to say, it's a great quote, empty your cup, but I promise you that we can, I mean, we can help you and you can help yourself if you really implement this. If you're just on this webinar and you don't go back and really listen to it, you're going to feel good about yourself about the fact that you went on a webinar for 45 minutes or an hour, but that's not good enough. You've got to go execute. So let's talk about retention. The most frustrating thing is when you have a good recruitment month, which all of you should have had in either August or September, because August and September is the biggest recruiting months there is in the whole year. Coming out of summer and into the fall is the biggest recruiting time. But the biggest frustration is when you enroll 20 students and a month later you look at your active count's the same. It's because you also lost 20 students. And there's a couple things where when we don't track numbers, there's two extremes here. Number one, if today, let's just say you have a school of 200 students, and today you walk in and you have 3 messages, back-to-back messages of students that say, hey, I can't continue, or my son doesn't want to continue, or my daughter doesn't want to continue, and you have 3 of those in a row. Here's what happens in the My Elite family, everybody. We get a phone call. I'm losing students left and right. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. We're just losing students all of a sudden. I mean, more students than ever. Well, how many students have we lost? Well, I had 3 messages today. Okay, well, how many did you have this month? Well, I didn't, but 3 came in right off the bat. Sir or ma'am, you do not have a retention problem. So you don't panic. But if you're not tracking your numbers, what happens is you start putting all your focus into an area where we don't need to. So that's one extreme. The other extreme is I don't lose my students. I keep my students. Do you want me to give you want me to enlighten you? And a lot of you are going to disagree with me and you're going to argue. The difference is after 30 years of tracking data with hundreds of schools, I'm pretty confident I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong on this if you don't track your data. But if you sign up a student in a 12-month snapshot, how long does an average student last in a 12-month snapshot? So they either lasted 12 months or longer or less. Do you want to know your average student lasts between 6 and 8 months? You're not going to believe that, but that is the reality of it. Okay, that is the reality. Now, if you're a school with 30 or 40 students, that should be longer. But if you're a school that's running 150, 200, 250, it's not going to be longer. And I had people argue with me, and then we dove in their numbers and they found out. Here's the thing about your retention. If you have 100 students, do you remember when you first opened your school and you just grew, and then you hit this plateau? All of a sudden, you're not growing anymore. And you can't understand, why can't we're not growing anymore. We just hit this plateau. Well, do you understand that if you enroll 5 students a month and your attrition rate is a 5% attrition rate, you will grow to 100 students and then you will plateau. You will stop. Because at 100 students, if you're losing 5% a month, you're losing 5. And if you're only enrolling 5, you're going to stay at 100. You're going to stay right there. So you cannot keep doing what you've been doing to get you to where you are today, to get you to where you want to be tomorrow. Something's got to change, okay? But when we look at attrition, if you are over 5%, 6 to 10, that is absolutely horrible. You do not want to be over 5%. If you're at 5, we're at the top of the level of where I want you to be. Honestly, I want my schools to be between 3 and 4% attrition rate. 3 and 4. I'm going to be honest with you. I have one school right now, year to date, they're at a 2.9% attrition. I will also be honest with you that I have one school that's at a 6.9% attrition. Okay. Every school, and the reason why I like to work with people one-on-one or the consultants is because every school has a different focus. If you are focused on just enrolling and not retention, you're just going to spin your wheels. So the question I have you, and you should write this down for yourself, and we're not going to share this right now, but you should make a list. What do you do to get your next student? How much energy and focus do you put into getting your next student? And then say, well, how much energy and focus do I put into retaining my current students? And if your only answer is, I teach fun and exciting classes, that is not enough. Because fun and exciting eventually gets boring. So you have to evolve. And just real quick, an analogy on that so you understand that concept is, if you get a kid a video game, let's say for his PlayStation, and he's dying for the game, and you give him the game because he's been dying for it. It's a new game. He wants the new Call of Duty, whatever. He's going to get that game. He's going to play it. Is that the only game we will ever have to buy our child? It's fun. It's exciting. No, it will eventually get old and boring. And then they want the next game. It's the same thing with your martial arts classes. So if you're only teaching fun and exciting classes and you just hope and cross your fingers that people just stay, that is not a good way to focus on your retention. By the way, none of you most likely will ever have a 1% attrition rate for a year outlook. Now, Cris, is the next slide about how to calculate that the right way?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
let's see it.
So traditionally, we have this formula, right? And you can print it out and you can plug it in. And sometimes people aren't great at math. But this will work, right? And you guys will get access to this in the slides. But we wanted to just create a better way to do it. So we created this retention scorecard where all you actually have to do is plug in a couple of numbers and it will tell you what your attrition rate is. Now, the other thing is it depends on when you're doing this. So you are calculating based off of a certain time period. If you want to figure out your attrition, for the year of 2021, well, you would look between January and December. But like
Hey,
right
Cris,
now, if we
real quick, I just want to remind everybody, we are going to give you this, right, Cris?
I love you so much, Metz.
I know, but I mean, I know I may be, I'm not here to just pull the shades and be in sales and all that stuff. I just want to be honest. I see a lot of people, what's happening, Cris, is I'm looking at some people, they're writing down and they're not listening. They're trying to write, they're not listening. That's why it's important to know, we're going to give you this. So.
Yeah, so let's say you just wanted to calculate your attrition over the first 8 months of the year, right? From January to August. Well, then you would just plug in the number of months you're calculating the attrition. Maybe at the end of the quarter here in a few days, you just want to calculate it for the quarter. So you're going to put the number of months that you are calculating, okay? And then if it's green, that means those are numbers you need to actually plug in. So for the active count, it would be at the start of when you are looking at your attrition rate. So let's use, from the beginning of the year until the last full month, which was August. So that would be 8 months. And let's say at the beginning of the year, you had a 200 student active count. So if it's green, that's where you plug the numbers in. And then you're going to put in the total enrollments of the year. So let's say in this scenario, they enrolled 78 new students. And what's cool is the spreadsheet's going to plug in all the math for you. So it'll give you total enrollments with perfect retention. And guys, again, remember there's a key that has the full explanation of each one of these rows as well, okay? Then you're going to put how many students you lost. Now, let's say this particular school ended up losing 50. As I plug that number in, you'll notice the rest of the numbers changed. So the formulas are already done in here, which is really neat. And then I think this is the most confusing one for most. It's your active count for 12 months. And this is where you take the active count of every single month. So let's say January, you had 200, February, you had 215, March, you had 220. You're going to take each of those active counts over the 8 months and you add them up. It's going to be a very, very large number and you plug that in. And what it's ultimately going to do is give you your average active count, your average students lost per month, and your attrition. So this particular school with this data had a 2.8% attrition, which is awesome, right? So you'll have access to the spreadsheet, but if you're old school and you want to figure out the math yourself, we're going to give you this attrition formula. And
Oh, did I lose Cris? Can you guys still hear me? You can hear me. Okay, good. Good. Before she comes back, and hopefully if this goes off, guys, I'm sure she'll get everybody back in. But I want to say something. Some of you may be saying, well, I don't know how many students I lost. It's very simple. You take your active count, for example, January 1st, I started with 200 students. I enrolled 50. So if I didn't lose anybody, I should have 250. But you look at your active count right now and you only have 180. Well, you lost 70, right? So I have my active count starting in January was 200. Okay, Cris left, she's going to jump back in. My active count today is 180. But I enrolled 50 people because most of you should be able to find out or see whether you keep stats or not. You should be able to look at how many students you enrolled. So when you add up your active count with all the students you enrolled, and then you look and see how many active students you have now, that'll tell you how many you lost. Then you could divide that number by the number of months, and that's going to give you how many students you lost as an average per month. And that's what she was talking about earlier. Well, what was my average active count in those 8 months? How many students did I lose on average? And then you can find out your average attrition rate. Now, when you want to dive deeper, this is very important, everybody. Months are not created equal in our industry. So you may want to write this down because I don't think we put it on here. You're going to lose the highest percentage of students 3 times a year. And when you know this, when you track this, then you could get ahead of it and do things to curb that. But you're going to lose students going into the summer. You're going to lose students coming out of the summer. And you're going to lose students over the holidays going into the new year. Why? Because those are 3 key transitional times of the year, whether you're adults or children. If you're an adult and you have kids, it affects you, but routines change. When kids get out of school and go into summer, people start traveling. They do summer activities. They start doing, by the way, I hope the hurricane didn't knock her stuff out already. But anyway, there's a transitional time. Same thing with coming out of summer. Fall activities start. Kids go back to school. They get bombarded with new fall activities, right? So we know we need to be an option for those students. Martial arts needs to be an option along with basketball, little league, soccer, all these things. That's why it's crucial to pump up your marketing during these 3 key times. Last thing I'm going to say, and I see we got Cris back. Last thing I'm going to say is the problem here is, remember how I said the biggest recruiting time of the year for us is August and September. The problem is what that does is that enrollment wave that comes in disguises the amount of students that you lose. So you don't realize it unless you're really keeping stats. You get so many new students, a lot of times we'll see ourselves grow a little bit, but you don't realize how many students you lost. You got to pay as much attention on retaining a student as recruiting a student, and that's what I said earlier. Cris, you're back. You want to bring that back up? I thought Hurricane Ian or Irma or whatever hurricane's coming out of the sky. That shows you how worried I am about this.
I know. Well, I was concerned it was going to cancel the whole Zoom. I'm glad it didn't. But yeah, I was just, showing that you guys are going to get this paper so you can plug the numbers in. I gave you an example as well on here. And then, we have the actual scorecard that'll do the math for you. There's just a couple of numbers you have to plug in. Okay. So, Metz, we ready to talk about the last scorecard?
Yes, revenue.
All right, revenue. And
all right.
Tracking revenue.
Yep. So listen, guys, whether you like it or not, and the fact that you're on this tells me that you understand that we are a business. Number 2, it was my older brother who said this to me, and it stuck with me, and it should stick with you. Are you really an entrepreneur? Or are you just a karate school owner or a martial arts school owner because you got a license and you opened up a martial arts school? We don't want to be just a martial arts school owner. We want to be a great business owner. Get out of your own way right off the bat if you think in order to be successful financially that you got to nickel and dime your students. Get that out of your head. You do not. You do need to know how to generate revenue in your business, though. And it is not by signing up more students. That's just one way. So look at these 5 profit centers here real quick. The only way to make money in your business falls into one of these categories. You either get new students, you have an upgrade program, and I want to touch on that very quickly. You sell retail, some of you give it away, and you don't get that revenue stream. Renewals, if you can keep a customer 1 month longer, you're going to generate more revenue for doing that. That's going back on the retention side. And then special events. Special events can be anything from seminars to private lessons. You can count that as a special event, to parent night outs, to self-defense events. I mean, whatever. But we got to know how to generate revenue in each of these profit centers. And when you get comfortable and good at this stuff, you need to integrate these profit centers. And KISS is keep it simple, stupid. I mean, that's just the method. I like simplicity. If it's not simple, it's not duplicatable. Remember that. The other thing I want to tell you is you got to make sure, I don't care how good you are at your job. Like Cris said earlier, just get them in front of me, Cris, and I'll enroll them. Well, maybe because you have an unbelievable personality. Maybe you have unbelievable charm and charisma. the thing is you're going to stifle yourself. If you don't have a system, you're not going to be able to get other staff members to adopt your charm and charisma. So you have to have a system to where we can duplicate this model. Every one of you on here, I don't care if you're just an instructor and an employee on here, every one of us should have an exit plan. And you got to make sure that you don't have a job, you have a career, and that you supply careers and not jobs for your people, because they should have a plan and a retirement strategy as well, not be stuck forever in a job. Okay. Real quick on the upgrades. This is a taboo subject. I say it all the time. If you don't offer upgrades in your business, you are not maximizing your business. Plain, simple, done. And if anybody wants to chime in, tell me a company or a business that does not have an upgrade. They don't. You can mention an all-inclusive resort. They have upgrades. Most of you here that might be against upgrades even have an upgrade. If you sell a private lesson, that is an upgrade. If you sell a private lesson where a student has to pay you more money to get a one-on-one lesson, that is a form of an upgrade. You just got to know how to do it correctly and how to offer a program, not force people, but offer a upgrade program that shows enough value to where your customers come to you and say, I would like that. And that is so crucial and important to understand. You got to have a menu and give your customers options, but you shouldn't force anything down their throats or make them upgrade to get a black belt in whatever system you teach. That should not be the case, but you've got to have these 5 profit centers. Okay, Cris.
Yeah, so to make this super simple for you guys to track, so you can have spreadsheets on your desk like Mr. Metzger, we made this revenue scorecard. And what's super cool, again, is the formulas are all inputted. So I did break down special events, private lessons, and mass intros. So if you wanted to calculate them more on a granular level, so you know exactly how much money is coming in with private lessons versus if you did a parent night out, since private lessons are under that special event umbrella, okay? You have your paid in fulls, your billing check tuition that comes in on a daily basis. And again, there is a key at the front that explains each one of these rows. And what's so great is over here, as you add the revenue that comes in each day, it will actually calculate it for you. And what it'll also do is if you put your active count in here, it will tell you what your student value number is. And for the longest time, Maya had recommended a minimum of 185. But seeing our schools kind of crush that lately, we've even raised the bar a little higher to be aiming for a $200 student value. How is that possible if you're only charging $150 a month? It's possible due to these other profit centers. So as you plug in each one of these, your numbers on the right will automatically calculate to give you your total revenue. As you put in your active count, it'll automatically calculate to give you your student value. So you don't have to worry about math or doing any numbers.
Let me jump in real quick. Let me be realistic with you guys. Here's what you're not going to do probably. Listen carefully. I'm going to give you the secret. This is how simple I like to keep things and how caveman-esque we operate a lot of times. There are so many systems now that do it for you, right? And we get attracted to bells and whistles. But you don't even use all of the tools that some of these softwares offer. So watch this. Those revenue categories, let me give you an example. Let's say a parent comes up today and says, hey, I want to pay for the parents' night out this Friday, which is, let's just pretend it's $30. And I want to buy him a new uniform. He's outgrowing the uniform. So that's $50. So let's just pretend they're going to give you a credit card now and they're going to swipe it for $80. You're going to give them the uniform and you're going to register them for their parents' night out, right? And then you get a credit card slip, but there's 3 more people in line to register for the thing. You're not going to, most of you won't stop, get onto your spreadsheet and look for the retail and say, okay, $30 there, special event $30 and retail $50. You're not going to do it. So I learned that 20 years ago when we started a system, and this is what we did. We got envelopes, right? White envelopes, and we wrote retail, special events, paid in fulls. We just wrote it on the envelopes. So when they ran the credit card in this example for $80, all I did was I got a pen. I put $50 retail, $30 special event, and I just put it in one of the envelopes. I either put it in the retail envelope or I put it in the special event envelope, threw it in the drawer and just kept going on with the day. At the end of the night, we would open up the retail envelope, pull out the cash, pull out the credit card slips, pull out the checks. We would add it up. I would see that I put, oh, well, I know $30 I got to put into the, or $50 I got to put into the retail side. I'd add it up and then put it into the spreadsheet at the end of the night when there's no customers around. Then I'd open up my paid in full envelope. I'd look at the credit card receipts, the checks, the cash, put in the total. Next. Now, pay attention. If somebody handed me $100 bill and they were paying $80, $50 for a uniform, $30 for retail, and they said, here's $100. You always have to have some petty cash on hand. But what I would do is I would get a little slip of paper. I would put $50 retail, $30 special event, and I paper clip it to the $100 bill and I put it in the retail envelope or the special event envelope. So when I saw $100 in there at the end of the night, I wouldn't add 100. I would know I gave them change. I just would know that $50 of that was for a uniform and 30 was for the retail. So last thing I'm going to just say, just so you know, because I think it's social proofing. Cris talked about it a lot. You see this sheet? I get this every single month, okay? On this one sheet, I have 7 locations, okay? This one sheet tells me what our billing is, what our growth was from 2021 for that month, how many inquired, set, and showed, how many students we lost, how many new students, upgrades, and renewals we did, what our active count is, and what our student value is. That's the sheet for each school. And then at the end of the sheet, it adds it all up and I have all the averages. That's why I think we do as well as we do, being a hands-off owner with team members running our 7 locations, doing an average of about $60,000 a month every month for each location. And that's the average, right? Some schools do more, some schools are doing a less, but that's the average because of the systems and the data-driven decisions that we make. So back, Cris.
Yeah, Metz, that sounded very Dave Ramsey-ish with the envelopes. And, you know, I know how much you love Dave Ramsey.
I'm sure he's a wonderful man. And I think he helps 99% of people. But if you want to build wealth and you want to grow, Dave, hey, I'll just give you this caveat. Ready? Okay. Here's the caveat. I told you our portfolio, we have $123 million in real estate right now. Well, if you follow Dave Ramsey, do not get in debt. What I didn't tell you is we have, and I could get the exact number if we get it from Drea, we have $59 million in debt that we owe to the banks. So we owe 60 million, but we have 123 million. Our net worth, we have a $63 million in net worth there. Debt is good. Not debt if I tell you about my $45 shoes that I wear with the foam coming out. I mean, I'm transparent. If you start going on vacations and buying stupid stuff, that's bad debt, which most people get in trouble with. So this is just a sidebar. If you're trying to pay off your house early and you got in at a 3% interest rate, that would be bad. I'm going off on a tangent. So Dave Ramsey would tell you, pay that off. Don't do that. It's not smart. If you have questions on why, you can call me.
And this is also what we go over in Maya Wealth, right? So guys, whether it's the, envelope system, all of your CRMs that you're using should be able to run an end of night report for you so that you can see, how much retail came in, how much was spent on those special events. I think what happens often at the end of the night, we're just done, right? We're like, oh, we taught all these classes. We talked to hundreds and hundreds of people. You need to treat this as a business. My very first job, I was a cashier at Chuck E. Cheese, and I had to dress up like the rat. But at the end of the night, we had to count our drawer as well. So I want you to kind of have that mindset of having this like end of day routine that helps you create a habit to track these numbers. Okay. So those are the 3 scorecards: the recruiting, the retention, and the revenue. Matt's, we're a few minutes over, but I think we got to make sure we just touch on these percentage goals real quick, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about this? Because most people don't know this in terms of your billing check. Most people's billing check, the tuition that they're charging is like 100% of their total gross revenue.
Yeah, so you guys should write this down too. And I don't anticipate you really understanding and knowing, but your billing check, your recurring revenue that's coming in from monthly payments from your students should never make up more than 50% of your total gross. We do not do an after-school pickup program and summer camps. We don't do any of that. We are open in the evening for regular classes, but your billing check shouldn't. So right now, you guys should ask yourself, if your billing check is $5,000 a month, your recurring revenue that comes in, you should be grossing a minimum of $10,000. If your billing check is $12,000 a month, you should be grossing at least $24,000. But without after-school pickup programs or summer camps. That is separate. I'm here to teach you how to focus and grow the business that you signed up for when you were a student on the mat. I don't think any of you were a student on the mat thinking, I can't wait to buy vans and pick up kids after school. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying I'm focused on the core business of what I think we all wanted to get into. So I'll social proof this as well. But this sheet goes through August. Our billing, you can't see it, but I get the totals. I get the totals right here. But just to put it in perspective, guys, our total tuition recurring revenue is $1,352,289.38. So just say $1,352,000. That's the total of our recurring billing through August. Our gross, though, is $3,198,000. So you know that if I doubled our tuition, $1,352,000, that would only take me to $2.7 million. But we're grossing $3.3,298,000. Your billing, if your billing check, your recurrent tuition is like 80% or more of your total gross, then you don't know how to run your business effectively. There's not an argument. It's just not an argument. You just don't know how to do it. And it's not like you're born to know. You got to learn. You got to learn how. And the problem with it is if your billing check represents the majority of your revenue, here's the question that I have for you. How do you grow that? How do you grow that business model? If your billing check represents 80, 90% or more of your total gross, how do you grow it? There's only one way to grow it. Get more people on it. You got to get new students. So you're trying to do a business with only one method of growing it. Where when I showed you those 5 profit centers, I got several branches of how to grow my business. I got down payments, paid in full, special events, private lessons, retail. But do you know how to do that effectively? And the one other thing that the problem is like, for example, people say, well, I have a great pro shop. Come to any one of my 7 schools. I don't have a pro shop in any of them. And I bet you I generate more revenue from retail than any of you because we know how to do it. And so this is very important for you all to understand, because if you could get this concept, just imagine right now, whatever your billing check is, that you're grossing double or more. And again, without after school pickups and all that. If you're generating a bunch, that's great. But I'm just talking in the evening. Imagine that. How much money are you leaving on the table right now? That's the question. That's what I see. When people come to me and say, I need help, and I dive into their numbers, I can see clear as crystal how much it's not about how much you're not making. It's about how much you're leaving on the table for what you already have. And that's so important. So yes, that's a big one, your billing check.
Awesome. Well, those are the 3 scorecards. Are there any questions as we wrap up here? Feel free to put them in the chat.
Oh, how do we get a copy of the scorecard, Mr. Swishout? Chris?
Yes, as long as you registered, which you did, obviously, because you have a link, you're on the Zoom. We're going to email that out today. And you guys should thank Mr. Metzger, because I was not planning on giving you the scorecard. I was planning on only giving the scorecard to those of you that signed up for our foundations program. So Mr. Metzger gave you guys a free gift. And my ask to you is to at least just listen to what we have to say about our foundations program, since we are going to give you the scorecard.
All right, listen to me, everybody. Listen, I don't post. Cris, have you asked me to post on my social media, my house, my cars, my success? Have you asked me to post that?
I have.
And have I done it?
No, guys, he has a beautiful brand new Lamborghini in the garage that he just won't put online.
No, listen, that's not me. I don't post that shit. It doesn't matter. And sorry, I used a bigger curse word than Cris earlier when she said ass. But listen, here's what I want to tell you all, because I am here to help you. I'm here to help you so much that I didn't review what the giveaway is. I just said, are we giving them the scorecard? And if you listen, Cris said, Metz, I love you so much, because it wasn't part of the plan. I want to say this for this audience right here, this audience. Silverman and I have $65 million of net worth. Do you think I need you to spend $397 to sign up for the foundations program with Maya? I mean, I'm telling you right now, guys, if you haven't done our foundations program, which is normally $798, $794, or $799, or whatever it is, because it's 2 payments at $397. And Cris told me that we'll give half off if anybody wants to do foundations, which starts October 5th, which is next Tuesday, Perry, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, there's a link. Wednesday, sorry, next Wednesday. It's 4 calls, but these 4 calls will increase your revenue instantly. And here's what I told Maya, by the way. This is what I want you to hear me as you're reading or seeing these sessions. These are the dates. There's only 4. We're going to go over pricing structure. We're going to go over your class schedule. We're going to go over upgrade programs the right way, just so you have an understanding. And we're going to go over mass enrollments. Normally it's 2 payments at $397, because these calls, as you can see, is every other week. So it's over 2 months. So it's $397 the first month, $397 the second month. But for all of you, if you sign up and hit that link, it's just $397 once. Okay. Now, I asked Maya, I said, listen to me. I know people. I can't go over something one time and just know that they're going to have it down. So anybody that pays for this program, let them take the program over and over and over at no extra cost, because the point is, I'm here to help you. Why would I, if you divide it by 2, our net worth, I have a 30 million plus net worth. I mean, why would I want to do this? Because here's why. I am a martial artist first and foremost, number 1. Number 2, I know that I would not be where I am today if people over the last 30 years didn't help me. And I'll never forget that. Number 3, I know what it's like to be a struggling school owner. And I also know what it's like to just be making ends meet as a school owner. Our industry, I believe in it. I believe in the martial arts. So if I can dedicate myself to helping our industry grow, that's what I want to do. So if you can part with $397 and register, I promise you, I will give my heart and soul to try to make you understand and show you the path of how you can elevate your school to the next level. That's it. I mean, that's why I don't look at the close. That, the scorecard is important. All of you should have it. So that's why I said you should get it. So if you sign up for foundations, you're just going to get 4 calls with me and Shane Tossel. You're getting the scorecard anyway, whether you sign up or not. But I can't be more passionate, more transparent than that, guys. Any questions from anybody? And by the way, you should read the comments. I see some people putting comments about people that have done foundations. I wouldn't lie to you. Anything else?
Just thanks, guys, for joining us today. We will have the replay, the slides, and the scorecard sent out to you guys before the end of business today. Highly recommend doing foundations. Hope you guys can take us up on that. And thank you to Mr. Metzger for joining the Grow Pro monthly webinar that we do. And if you guys have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Mr. Jardine is asking, or closes any form of financial commitments? No. So under your close column, that's just going to be 12-month enrollments. If you do month to month, then that would also go in there, but there's a separate column for you to track trials, and that's where you're going to put your trials and track them there. All right.
Hey, if anybody's thinking about it, here's my last piece of advice. Here's the sales pitch. Click the link and take action now, because it's all based on emotion. You will get sucked back into your routine. You will go back into your schools. You will forget it. You will think you'll just do it, and you won't join foundations. And by the way, it's $400. I don't want to diminish that, but I promise you, after the first call, I will quadruple that $400 after the first call. Pricing structure, I promise you. Try it out, guys. And once you do it, you can do it over and over and over at no cost, because our point is to help you. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. McGraw. We will stay safe. Cris, we'll touch base.
Yes. And guys, if I'm slightly delayed in responding, it's because I don't have power or internet over the next couple of days. So if you're a Grow Pro client, please be patient with us. We had a ton of our staff that had to evacuate. And thank you so much, guys. Make it a great day. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, guys.